What's going on, everybody? John Ramdeen and Robin Black, downtown Toronto. We're both getting super jazzed about UFC 212 going down in Brazil, Rio de Janeiro, the UFC 145-pound championship on the line. I guess unification bout between arguably the greatest featherweight of all time in Jose Aldo taking on the guy that we believe to be the future or the present in mixed martial arts, Max Holloway. When I think about this fight, one thing's for certain, if Jose Aldo's healthy, which we all have to believe he's going to be healthy going into this fight, you're talking about a prime Jose Aldo who's so intelligent, so motivated. In his fight with Frankie Edgar, you saw his evolution, so you know that this guy is operating on a different level. You know that he has tricks up his sleeve. Will Max Holloway be able to handle that? We know how creative he is. We see how diverse he is. He can attack on the ground, standing, he can fly through the air, he can be conservative, he can just go crazy and just try to brawl, but he's super intelligent and he has so many weapons. Even if he is on his A++ game, can an A++ Max Holloway beat an A++ Jose Aldo?
Yes, he can. Yeah. And the A++ Max Holloway that beat Anthony Pettis can beat Jose Aldo. You know, Max Holloway, who is modern and fearless and long and rangy and mysterious with the way that he's moving and deceptive, he can absolutely. Can
he fuck around? Because it feels like this time, Max, if you're his coaches, like, we can't fuck around at all.
You know. Play is
play is one thing. Play is one thing, but dropping your hands and fucking around against a guy like Jose Aldo, who, guess what? We've seen a conservative Jose Aldo, and then he goes back to what he did to Cub Swanson, flies through the air and smashes your face in.
Yeah, it's tricky because play and the state of play makes a lot of these fighters better, but it gets some of them knocked out. I've said for a long time, one of the fighters I love watching right now is Tony Ferguson, and you can put Max Holloway into a similar category. When those guys lose, it's going to be spectacularly. Now, it might be a long time. It might be 3 fights, 5 fights, 8 fights from now, but their freedom to play is based, at least in part, on a fearlessness that has been developed through being proven right. See, I wasn't afraid. That guy couldn't hurt me. I was able to do what I wanted. I stood in the middle and I went for it. Or Tony, fighting in the open field whenever he wants. And that reinforces to these guys that I can play and improvise and innovate in the game. And then one day you wake up and you're unconscious, and that's what cost you. Is this that day? It's hard to say, man. Jose Aldo, the Frankie Edgar performance was the best. Like, just unreal. Really spectacular.
And I know the people say, well, what do you mean the Frankie Edgar performance? Because he beat him twice. You go back and watch the fight, but both fantastic. Yeah. I know a lot of people feel that Frankie won the first fight.
Or at least it was close enough for an argument for that.
Exactly. But there's no argument in fight number 2. No. That was Jose Aldo's fight, and he looked spectacular.
And he outsmarted Frankie and Mark.
And Frankie Edgar is the fucking man. Look what he just fucking did to Yair Rodriguez, just the ass kicking of the year.
Yeah, and he outsmarted him. That's the thing. In the first one, it was very close, and he played a lot on his super strengths that have always been a part of his career, his left hook and his low kick and pressure. That, if you go back and you watch Jose Aldo 7 years ago, 8 years ago, oh my God, you got to watch out for his low kicks. Oh no, if he kicks you, do you see what happens when he kicks your leg? That's all true. That's true. It's always a part of his game. It's always there. You think you'll be ready for it, it's still going to be there. And that left hook, either after the low kick or to set up the low kick, he has beaten guys just with that, which is pretty spectacular. And pressure. And early in the fight, to make his pressure work, he found that there was a risky, a certain amount of risk that he had to do where he would stand up and trade. Stand up and trade and not take a step back until you do. And that's a gamble, but it's a gamble he always won. But against Frankie, they prepared for everything I've just described. and then Jose was something entirely different. And that to me made you, that's when he was the best 145 pounder ever for me. That without that Frankie fight, he was a particular style of pressure fighter with some incredible skills and toughness, and one of the greats.
Now,
but after the Frankie fight, true great.
Now, is that just as the pay-per-view draw, as the professional 145-pound fighter? Because as a fighter, he's a martial artist. He trains in everything. You know he wrestles. Yeah. You know he does jiu-jitsu. He spends countless hours doing that stuff, but we don't see that stuff inside of the cage. So as a fighter, to win fights and make money and have a fan base, this is what I do to thrill people, and it's been working.
Well, when before the Frankie fight, so Conor knocked him out.
Yeah.
Before that, you grab any collection of the fights that were happening. The Mendes fight was an exciting fight that he won, particularly in round 5. He had already kind of won that fight. That Mendes had to surrender the knowledge that he wasn't going to win that fight, and it was a great fight. But Chad Mendes is a powerful boxer with a heavy punch or two. He's not an elite of the elite, and that is no disrespect. I'm an enormous fan, and I always will be. And I love this fight, and I love those fights. But this is not a guy who spent his lifetime developing the art of striking in space, kickboxing, and yet it ended up as a messy kickboxing fight. So you take that one. Then you take Lamas, who is a top 5 guy, but
perennial.
He fought him from the outside and edged that one out. You take the Korean Zombie. He finished him with a broken arm, but none of these were these incredibly dominant fights. There were similarities in what was happening for me as when John Jones recently fought OSP. Hey man, I can beat this guy. I'm going to. There was a joke when we were kids where for some reason, actually, it was not when I was a kid. My friend Mo Berg, who is a musician, made this joke that when he was kids, guys used to say, "Yeah, let's see who's got a bigger one," but only show enough to win. Right? Only show enough to win. Right? It doesn't make any sense, but just enough to win. So it's like, okay, that's enough. That's all I need to show. Right? That's how Jose Aldo was fighting. That's how John Jones fought OSP. He only showed enough to win. And that's how Jose was fighting. So we didn't know for a fact because he didn't whip it out. He just showed enough to win. So we didn't know always for a fact the truth of his dominance and genius.
Even when, like, you go back to the days of the WEC, you talk about Cub Swanson. We like Cub from right from the get-go.
Yes.
But was it the same thing? Was it back then? Oh, 2 21-year-old guys didn't have experience, even though you knew, well, Cub was better than all those other guys. So for this Brazilian guy to come and do this to this Cub Swanson, that's pretty impressive. Yeah, it's like, okay.
Hey, man, Amirkhani landed a flying knee early. Do you know what I mean? Is he the greatest of all time? Like one moment like that is not in fact, there are guys who've had 2 or 3 brilliant oh my God, like, and then later you find out they can't fight in a 5-round fight. They can't fight in a 3-round fight. They fold under pressure. So that's a neat thing. Those are cool when they do that. But to me, it was that Frankie fight, and I know Frankie was injured.
Before the not even the Faber fight, when you saw.
Yeah, phenomenal as well. Yes, he was absolutely one of the great 45ers.
But it was the evolution where you saw, I thought he was this.
Yeah. Yes, he from all the way back to spending the weekend with Sean Tompkins and Mark Hominick preparing for Aldo, everything that Sean studied about him and prepared with Mark was true all the way through to that Frankie fight. It was all true. Right. The great coach, the great Sean Tompkins, was right about all of it. And then, which is why Mark Henry and Frankie prepared for that, because he was that.
Yeah.
And then he wasn't that. He was something greater than that, and he was capable of so many different things, and he was capable of being an entirely different fighter, and he was capable of fighting in a different way, taking the moment where he got knocked out and making an entire brilliant 25 minutes out of it, drawing and hurting, and just that's what you do when you lose, is you learn something and you incorporate it and you make it your own. And that to me made Jose Aldo, that fight forever, I will think of him as the greatest 45er ever.
So if you're Dede Pederneiras and you're Pedro Rizzo and you're the coaching staff of one Jose Aldo, Are you looking at this scenario as, all right, everybody knows that we're not just that anymore, so let's fuck it. Let's let it all hang out.
Yeah,
or
more than enough to win.
Sure.
Yeah, more than enough to win. Show it all. I mean, it depends. How long are you going to go? How long are you going to fight?
It's Max Holloway.
Yeah.
You know that he's going to show it all.
Yeah. I would not be surprised to see Max Holloway take him apart.
Of course.
I wouldn't. Not after seeing him take Pettis apart, and not after seeing him, go
the distance with Connor.
Yeah, and be hard. Exactly, be hard to touch for guys like Cub.
Yeah.
For guys like Cub to
that
touch.
was insane. That to me, that's where I knew that even though I had a chance.
Even Jeremy. It's hard for Jeremy to touch him. Jeremy trains with Dominic Cruz. And he couldn't touch this guy. When you see that, if Max Holloway were to walk in there and just paint a picture with Jose Aldo's blood all over that place, I wouldn't be shocked.
So if you're Jose Aldo, are you drawing him in because he's coming anyways? Or are you like, no, I've got to stand my ground. I've got to push forward. I've got to be the old Jose Aldo. What do you think is going to unfold as soon as Herb, Big John, Mergliata, whoever says, do your thing?
Yeah. The scary thing for the Max Holloways of the world is the game. So Chad Laprise in his last fight slid back and knocked out Gowdy, and many guys we see do that. The anchor punch, among the different. The Duke calls it the anchor punch. There's many different. McGregor step back, boom. It's drawing them into the space and using their force against them. That's big now. Stephen Thompson's been intercepting fisting, using the intercepting fist to take out guys for years now. This is part of the game. So the people became better at hurting the pressure fighter, and that had to change. Or you're better at the reverse situation. The thing about it is now the Max Holloways of the world have become better at the whole picture, and they're able to slide in and out of everything. I was just in Korea, and the Korean game is fascinating. We've been commentating Dong Young Kim probably since his old fights, 2011, 12, I believe. Yeah. And Do Ho Choi, 2012, maybe 2010.
I feel maybe before that.
And then I looked back at some of the stuff we commentated of Do Ho Choi, and it was 2012, 2011. And when I was over there watching the Korean Zombie train his guys, before they learn 1-2, they're learning to play with the space and manipulate it. It isn't draw and hit or pressure and you try to draw and hit. It's inches. And inches and little slips and movements where your head just moves enough, but your head doesn't have to move because your body moves, and it's so complex now, and it's so three-dimensional now. And if Holloway is as good at that as I believe he is, then Jose Aldo, as great as he was against Frankie Edgar, and this will sound like I'm saying a lot, but he will have to have even improved from that to beat Max Holloway. And Max Holloway's the real thing, man. I believe if Jose Aldo is going to win this fight, he's going to have to finish Max Holloway. That's my belief.
Super cool. A tremendous battle at 145 pounds. The unification bout between Max Holloway and the great Jose Aldo.